And we're live. We've just counted down to another session with you guys. Nice to see you all. And tonight we're going to be doing a talk about how me and Jane met, and a little bit about soulmates. We can ask questions at the end about all that type of thing. And, you know, have you met your soulmate? Have you had has psychic things ever brought you together? But we're going to talk about how it all happened with us. We've talked about it once before in the past, a few times, but people have asked, can we do it in a bit more detail, basically, haven't they?
Well, they find me rather interesting, Craig, so they want to know.
Yeah, so we'll talk about all that and how we came together, and we'll open it up, obviously, with questions and answers towards the end. So, some hellos.
Precious, I'm ready and waiting, dear Craig and Jane, and so are we, Precious.
We will say hello to everybody at the start of the show if you're joining.
Greetings, Craig and Jane. Hamilton, listening from Massachusetts, is it USA?
Yeah, in a place called TVVM.
No, thank you very much. Right, Craig?
And you always give me the difficult ones to pronounce. Majbrit Kildengart Hansen is saying, good evening and huge hug for you two wonderful souls. Hugs from Denmark. Good to see you as well. Thanks for joining us.
Agility Bits from Cornwall.
Hey, Pat, that is. We know Pat. We know, of course, know a lot of you guys that join us. Nicardo Avocado, who I call Nick. Here we go. Tell me about my soulmate. Is it pasta? Good one. Speak.
Okay, good morning from New South Wales.
Chandri Prem Andubhuti is saying, Namaste from New Delhi, India. Lovely to see you both again. We always say hello to everybody if you're just joining us, and we're going to be talking about soulmates tonight, and particularly about how Jane and I met.
Right. Sairam, Craig and Jane, it's a pleasure meeting you both yesterday, and Boo. I would recommend anyone to have a reading with Jane. Thank you very much. Would you like a reading with me, Craig? Would you like a reading with me?
Yeah, you'll only tell me bad things. Yeah. She came to our house, didn't she? She came for a reading with our house. Lovely lady.
It's so nice to meet these patrons.
Yeah, it's your patron.
You're actually seeing people and you feel like long lost friends.
And she said she's too shy to write a message, you said to us too, didn't you? But thank you for writing a message and do more like that.
Nana says, hi everyone, from a little further down the road, Craig.
Oh yes, where's Nana from? I've forgotten.
Totten.
Oh, Totten, that's it. Yes, it's Totten, of course it is. Judy Sanchez Morris. Hola from Andalusia.
That's in Spain, Craig.
Hola. That's not hola. It's hola, isn't it? That's it. Hola. Hola to you.
Mrs. J. Hi, Craig and Jane. Blessings and blessings to you. Darren Brigger. Hi from Eastbourne. Love your positive energy.
Great. You need it down there in Eastbourne, I tell you. I've got friends down in Eastbourne.
Right. Marie says hello from Temecula, California.
We actually made Mystic Journey to India down in Eastbourne, believe it or not. Gillian and Dennisur Fur is saying, hello from Nottingham, UK.
They don't talk like that.
No, they do in Nottingham. Yeah,
it's Thai.
Jane is going to speak, folks, yes?
Yeah. Hi, Craig and Jane. Look forward to tonight's show from Cheryl. Good.
Thank you, Cheryl, for joining us. Agility Bits, of course. LOL, Nick, my soulmate is cake.
And it looks like Craig's soulmate too.
I'm going to have some of these tonight.
Be careful how you chew them. Now, Nardine, I found my soulmate, but he does not want me. Well, he's not, you're too good for him.
Yeah. Your soul hate, perhaps. Violetta is saying, hello from Paris, Jane. Hello from Paris, Jane and Craig.
Bonjour.
How do I book a reading, says Big Cheesy.
Come on our site.
Yeah, just come onto our site at psychics.co.uk. There's me and Jane there. I'm not doing any phone readings at the moment. Jane does them from home.
Yeah, I do face-to-face readings.
I do some email readings. And we've got, of course, our phone readers there as well.
Yeah.
Psychics, there it is. It's on the screen.
Yeah, but you can personally have a consultation with me in my spiritual room.
So there you go. Kay Cook, Whispers of Serenity. My eyesight's going. Good evening. I'm so looking forward to hearing your love story. How people come together is often so fascinating.
Yes, lucky
Yes,
man.
it is. Lucky you.
Lucky you.
Franco saying, I never get reminders from YouTube, you know. Well, you've got to click that little bell. If it goes down in another way, that corner down there, you'll see a little bell. If you hit the little bell button, you should get reminders. So do that and you should get reminders. I don't think YouTube's quite the same as it used to be. So it's important you click their little bell. It's a different, not just followers, but followers and ask for updates. Welcome everybody to a new live show. Here we are today, and we're going to be talking about how we met and how it all started. Right, I suppose I'll start, shall I?
Well, you always do.
Okay, so actually it's a long story, really. Okay, well, for me and Jane, it all started off really when we, through spiritualism, strangely enough. But the strange thing about when I met Jane is I kind of was told it was all going to happen 9 years in advance of it happening, because at the time I was a single parent and there was a problem that occurred, and I went to see Doris Stokes, the medium, to ask what had happened to the baby. And she told me all about what would happen. She was also tremendously helpful. I've told the story about Doris Stokes before, but she was also she was a medium, if those that don't know. She's a very, very famous medium in her time. But this was before she was famous, just inches before she was famous. And she was absolutely transformative in what she was said to me when I spoke to her, and told me that I was going to be a medium. I was working at the time I was a single parent running an advertising organisation here in Winchester, actually. There was no way I could have ever considered doing anything like mediumship as a full-time job, and it was kind of quite new to me. But I had a reading with her, and she said to me that I would meet my future wife. And I wasn't wanting to get married again at that point at all, And she said her name will be Jane Wallace, actually. And she said to me, the 6th of March is important, right? So it was, at that time, it was a long time later that it made sense to me, because she told me lots of other things. She said, you go to America with your friend Stewie, and I did, and she told me all sorts of things about what would happen in my life, and that I'd become a medium. And again, I didn't expect to become a medium either, because soon after meeting Doris Stokes, I met a policeman who was a psychic and a medium, and asked me if I would like to develop and become a medium. So, and I'll get Jane to tell her story after this.
If I've got time.
Well, I'll have to tell you my story before you can tell yours, can't you? Otherwise it won't make sense. Otherwise it won't make any order in the sense, as I said. So I learned to become a medium, sat in a circle, basically, developed mediumship, and even, and I started on the free night off. I only get one night off a week, really, and it would be a Tuesday night to able to get a babysitter. And I started to go around demonstrating in the spiritualist churches in London mainly. And then I started demonstrating a bit more locally. 9 years later, I'm in a spiritualist church in Eastleigh, which is our hometown now. And I'm stood there given a reading. And I'm coming to the people, I'm thinking, I've got to come to somebody out there, somebody who's wearing blue. And I couldn't see anybody in the audience wearing blue, because there was nobody I could see there wearing blue. They seemed to be hiding away. And I had a woman, I said, I want to give the name Ethel, and I want to give the name Ethel Wallace, and this is your grandmother link.
Barbara.
And of course, Barbara rather. Ethel Barber, Jane's great. Ethel Barber. But I was saying, I've got Ethel Barber here. Who's Ethel Barber? And of course it was Jane's grandmother. Now Jane was hiding away by that time, because you'd come to the spiritualist church. Now you tell us your little bit on the lead up to that, Jane, because we can talk a little bit more about it.
I was a one parent too, and I wasn't really interested in meeting anybody, just seeing to my children. And my grandmother from the spirit realm told me to go to the spiritualist church. And the night before, I sent my prayers up and said, I'd like a nice spiritual man, please, Then I chuckled and said, I don't want an ugly one. Thought nothing of it.
Very lucky you'd got a really handsome one, weren't you?
Very lucky.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So she told you to go to the spiritualist church?
My story, Craig, you can speak in a minute. Anyway, so I went to the spiritualist church and I said, who's the medium tonight? They said, Craig Hamilton Parker. Now, I imagined an old man, an old codger with a flat cap on his head. And Craig came on the platform and he said, I want to come to the lady over there in the blue. I've got your grandmother here. And I was with all my girlfriends and I said, how is she? She gets around. He said, she tells me you're a medium and I'd like to come to you for a reading. And I thought, that's a bit forward, isn't it? Like that. Then suddenly I heard a spirit voice clairaudiently say, here he is, here he is.
So what happened from my end, really? So I'm stood on the platform in front of the platform being like the little stage that you have at the spiritualist church. And I'm sort of giving this message, trying to find this Barbara link, you know, and then finally I see this lady in blue. Of course, it's Jane, you know.
Vision.
And I said, this lady in spirit is telling me that you're a medium too, you know. And she said, oh, yes, I am. I'm a medium too. And I said, and it seemed a bit out of place. I've never, ever done anything like this before. But I said, she's telling me that I'm supposed to come to you for a reading, right? So there's Jane's grandmother on the spirit side, matchmaking, basically. Because, I mean, and everybody in the audience, because the spiritualist churches are kind of know each other in the audience do. And they're all going, ooh, because they all knew Jane was on her own as well, you know. So I'm being pushed along by the grandmother to say, go and have a reading with this lady here. And the date was the 6th of March, the exact same date as Doris Stokes had told me all those years before, 9 years before. So it was the 6th of March, and I was meeting a person called, she said to me, Jane Wallace said Doris Stokes. Of course, it was Jane Willis was her name at that time, right? And your grandmother's name was also Wallace, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because it was Barbara, but she
came
changed
from
her
a
name.
famous family called Wallace and the Forsyths.
So there was also the Wallace link in the spirit communicator.
Yes.
So although Doris Stokes had kind of got it wrong in saying Wallace, because Jane's name was Willis, but Wallace was also the spirit communicator who I was actually communicating with right there. So somehow the spirit world has set us up
Yeah.
all that time ago, didn't they?
They knew a good thing when they saw it. And anyway, Craig came along for the reading, and I was a bit nervous. And he came in for a reading, and I gave him proof. And he said, I'd like to take you out for a drink. I said, I don't drink. He said, what about tea and cakes in Harrods? I said, okay, but no funny business. He said, funny business? I said, you know what I mean? So anyway, Craig took a week off from his advertising agency, and we done a week of spiritual things, go and see the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, because we both single parents, you see. I'd been a single parent. I had my daughter Celeste at home. She was only little. Jane had 2 children from her previous marriage as well. And so what things we did, first of all, we would go out with each other, but we'd also go out and do things with kids as well. So it was a very unusual sort of dating. But the first week or so, wasn't it? First thing I took you to see was the Dalai Lama. That was the first thing,
yeah, we
wasn't
saw
it?
the Dalai Lama, and we went to...
Well, let's just say about that first, because that was an interesting experience,
Yes.
wasn't it? Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember it very well. We went to go and see the Dalai Lama, and it was in a theatre, and I remember they had to search your bags and everything because he was under a lot of threat. And then we came away from there, and all our vibration and perceptions were heightened because we walked in St James Park or Hyde Park.
It was like being absolutely spaced out on something.
And you could hear all the birds going along, the whooshing noise.
All the birds had
And
after images and
yeah,
things.
it was so surreal. It's like a different world, wasn't it?
Everything sort of came. It was really weird because I think it was the vibration of
High
being
vibration.
the Dalai
Holy
Lama,
man.
and also something was happening in our lives as well at that time. Some energy had been released. And when we were walking across St James Park after we came out of the event there, both of us were like as high as a kite in a way. We hadn't taken anything or anything like that. Not Jane would ever dream of doing something like that. But it was like all after images. It was like all... it was all sort of, the flowers were alive, the lake was alive, the sky was brilliant blue. It was like a trip
Dream.
in a short period of time for no reason, out of nothing. And I think it was a lot to do with the whole energy of what was happening in our lives at that time, wasn't it? Really, it was like an extraordinary experience, really.
Yeah. And Craig and I would meet him down the bottom of the road between 7 and 9 o'clock.
Didn't want the neighbours to know.
No, and I didn't never want him to stay in the house overnight until we got married. And within 3 months, Craig, you asked me to marry you, didn't you?
We did a lot of other stuff too, didn't we? We went to psychic fairs. We went to the Festival of Mind, Body and Spirit.
Glastonbury.
Went to Glastonbury. Yeah, we packed a lot in. Stonehenge. It was a real spiritual dating experience, actually. But I think for both of us, though, it was the first time that we'd kind of met anybody else that was really on the same interest like that, really. Because nowadays, it's all over the internet. You know, you can meet people who... like meeting spiritually minded people the same as yourself, it's quite easy nowadays. But in those days, I, for example, because I was a single parent, and because, you know, you could be under a bit of scrutiny as a man with bringing up a baby, the idea of doing something like spiritualism, in those days, it was really considered as being dodgy stuff. You know, this was cultist nonsense, you know, and hearing voices and all the rest of it. So I had to be a bit careful. That's why I used to always work away from home. I used to work in London. You had to keep it secret that you were a medium. So then when me and Jane met, of course, this was like a tsunami of suddenly we could share all these wonderful experiences and had a great laugh because, you know, we both like to have a lot of fun. And it was a kind of an instant sort of connection.
Yes. And moving on, 34 years later, we're still here.
Yeah, we're still going. And so what happened next then? We got married.
Yes, we got married, but Craig and I can never do things straightforward. We got married and we had an umpire band.
Well, where we got married, that's interesting for people, because we got married in a spiritualist church.
That's right.
Now, we got married in what was Bitton Spiritualist Church, which basically is a bit like an old garage. It's a tatty old single-story building, and we got married there. It is a mess. Well, it's not. It's lovely, but you know, it's not like you'd imagine a great church wedding. It's sort of like dodgy chairs and a bit of blue paint and a tombola next to where you sign the register. You know, one of those for drawing the raffle tickets from, wasn't it? But people were a little bit nervous about it because we couldn't get a date because we decided to get married quite quickly. The only date we could get was the 1st of April, right? And I've done a lot of big practical jokes on the family before. For example, on the 1st of April one year, I made it seem as if we'd been repossessed at my father's business and we had all new signs put up over the business and everybody in the street was saying, have they been repossessed, had everything repossessed. I had to put the house up for sale one day for the parents on 1st of April. I'd done a lot of big jokes that the family knew about, you know. There's a lot of them. I could make whole hours just talking about that. So they were all thinking it was a joke. They really thought, because it was suddenly, they thought it was a joke and we were going to go to the spiritualist church. We had to really reassure people that this was the real deal. And I sent out the invites, you know, I had an advertising studio so we could make up all everything. And it was, your presence is required, with the pictures of toasters, you know, presents. And we put Ghostbuster logos all over my Jag. And so people really didn't. And my uncle Mike, I don't know if Sally's on tonight, but he was actually quaking in his boots at the idea of going into a spiritualist church. So he assumed that a spiritualist church is going to be sort of Blythe Spirit type of thing with all big curtains and people with scarves over their head and Ouija boards spitting green slime, you know. So people were a bit worried about this spiritualist church wedding because a lot of misconceptions. Do you want to pick up from there, Jane, about what the wedding happened?
Yes, and well, it was a beautiful wedding because we had lovely Celeste and my daughter. They were the bridesmaids, and we had a lovely president that married us, Mary Clifford. And then afterwards, we came back to my house.
Well, there also was important that you've missed out there. The person that
John
you weren't in
Stokes.
touch with your father at the time. You
John
didn't know where he
Stokes.
was. He disappeared.
Yeah, okay.
And John Stokes,
Doris Stokes'
his husband.
gave me away, and he.
So how did you know John Stokes? Did you not
I
explain
knew
that?
John Stokes through coming to my house to do contact healing, because we worked very much with girls with lupus, and it had breakdowns and everything. And he gave me away. I asked him if he'd give me away to Craig. He said he would, and he actually videoed it.
And this was after Doris Stokes had died.
Yes.
Jane had got to know John Stokes after the death of Doris Stokes, so there was no collusion. All the message about bringing us together with the spirit world and the matchmaking all came, didn't it,
Naturally.
from
Yeah.
the spirit world?
And
didn't
then we organised a marquee in the garden, and we had an umpire band, and outside caterers.
The umpire band. Describe the umpire band.
Why should I describe?
Well, the
people
umpire
know?
band. Well, I think they're funny because you think they've got some guy there with a bloody great big sousaphone playing, and all these sort of all the sort of accordion type things they had, didn't they? And
It was fun.
And trombones, all dressed in lederhosen. You know the leather sort of gear that they wear, and they slap their legs and things like that. So, I mean, people had come first of all to the wedding at the Spiritualist church, and then they're presented with this, Germanic sort of wedding, all set up overnight in a big marquee that we put over the pond with the fear of God that someone might go through the floor.
They put planks in.
Yeah, and then lots of really interesting and strange people there, like Betty Deer, for example.
Yeah, we won't go into that.
Yeah, I mean, some really
And then
very interesting mediums.
Then we took our honeymoon to Glastonbury to stay in a haunted hotel, the Pilgrim Inn, and we were in the nuns.
Yeah, we stayed in the nun's chamber,
Yeah.
didn't we?
Nothing happened, did it?
It was supposed to be one of the most haunted places in Britain.
We were too frightened to come and see me.
And we took William the dog with us, so that was a bit of a weird experience too. It was a creepy place because it really was pretty stark in some respects, and it had a big four-poster bed, didn't it? And it's supposed to be haunted by the deadly spirit of this nun that would terrify the guests. So that was quite interesting as well. So it was quite an interesting coming together, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then Craig decided to give up his advertising agency and come on the spiritual pathway with me so we could work together and help others.
Yeah, this took a little bit. It wasn't long after we met, really, that I thought, I've had enough of all this. We're going to do this full time.
Yeah.
And so, it was a big deal giving up an advertising agency,
And
really. I mean, I had a lot of people working for me. There's some top name clients, British Airways, Zurich Life Assurance, MGM Assurance, all sorts of big
and he's
companies.
never looked back since he's been with me.
Well, actually, it was tough at first because we had to give up quite a lucrative career, really, and go from that to doing tarot readings was what most people wanted because they didn't always wanted to know about fortune telling, not mediumship.
Love finds a way. If you've got a soulmate, then you're two people as one, so it's nice energy, isn't it?
And so it's fascinating how
Karmically.
Doris Stokes kind of wove through this as well, really, because
I thought, I'm just going to say, Eye of the Needle, truly classy and rare these days, Jane. I thought you said truly cheesy. I had to put my glasses on.
Yeah. So in a way, it was strange because I'd had that message 9 years before, at night. 9 years
Yes.
before we met, I had been told your name was
Yeah.
given to me.
Written in the stars.
And I was kind of quite new to it all then. I'd been interested in lots of things, but it was a mind-boggling thing.
Yeah, and because when he met me, he couldn't speak, and I couldn't speak. The words couldn't come out of our mouth, and it felt like we knew each other's sentences. We didn't have to speak.
It was a strange,
We didn't have to
strange
speak.
thing. And
It's
then we
like-
had that brilliant light appear soon after us in the room, didn't we?
Yeah.
An incredible, brilliant light that appeared in the room that we can never explain.
angel.
Unbelievable thing. Just can't. It was like a ball of light.
Do you
We've
want to answer some of these people now?
Yeah, so anyway, that was how we got started. So, I mean, I don't know, you might have some interesting stories yourself and you might have some interesting questions. So do put them in the comments and put them in the comments afterwards too. If you've come onto the show after we've gone live, always put your comments in. Tell us your story because we'd love to hear it as well.
Marilyn says, question, can you ask your spirit guides or a specific archangel to set up a soulmate? What's a good prayer for this? Send him to me. Send him to me, please.
I don't. We have not answered the question for the poor person. I don't know if you can attract it like that. You know, I mean, I think that in a way pushes people away from you in life. I think you have to be in the right place at the right time. And the way to get in the right place at the right time is you've got to be in the right place at the right time, spiritually, inwardly.
I think that's
And it's a bit like, I think, when you meet a guru, for example. When you meet a guru, it's like it's meant to be, it's not necessarily going to happen in a certain point in time. It happens when you're both right and it's ready, and the universe is ready for that to happen for you, you know?
No.
And what's the difference between soulmates and twin flames? This is just words, isn't it? Don't you think?
Well, soulmates, you know if you meet a soulmate because you feel instantly not just attracted, but it's a feeling of love, and it's a feeling that you only want this person in your life, how beautiful they are, and everything about them.
Yeah, I think there's like in your life, for example, I think you probably. If you've it's like a guru again, really. If you find a guru, it's like there's only going to be one guru really in your life, and it's the same, I think, with on a deep emotional, spiritual level, and the person you're going to be with to share that path with as partners, or husband and wife. You
I
know,
don't think I'd like to be referred to as a twin flame, Craig.
It sounds a bit like
you're
particularly with all
burnt
this
out.
energy crisis.
You're burnt out.
You don't know what the supplier is, do you?
Southern Gas. Yeah. No, I like soulmates better.
But I mean, these are all the thing is, there's an awful lot of fantasy, isn't there, that's been written about this now. I mean, people jump on. It's just like all this indigo people and all the rest of it. You know, people start to get all these ideas, and you know, it's simple, really, isn't it?
Oh, that's nice.
Meet the person you're meant to be with.
The 1st of April is the perfect time for a wedding. I love it. Well, you never forget my wedding anniversary. That's for sure.
And I can't play the jokes I would like to play on it. Otherwise, I'd be in serious trouble.
Special. Ireland, do you feel you were together in a past life? Do you feel it was? Put the
fate.
Fate and meant to be. You are such a lovely couple. All the stars don't. When you pass, I do feel we were together in the past life.
I think we were. We had similar dreams, didn't we? Too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we were talking when you get to meet people, you start talking about all sorts of stuff, don't you? And we found that we had a dream in common, being chased from behind and attacked, weren't we? And at that time, we all had a mark on the back of our neck in exactly the same place, because we felt we were being attacked from behind and attacked with swords, and we're on this slope, and it felt to me like kind of France and things like that.
Right,
and it was
like an archer,
and it was near a castle, and there was a moat, and we were like being slaughtered basically, and being pushed into the pit, and so there could have been that as one possible. And then when we met Sharavana Baba, well, I've got to have to mention my book too.
Oh, you must.
He said we were all together in a past life, so we were shared a common thing, and that's what the book's doing up on the top there. Because I've got to tell you about my new book, right? My new book has just been finished. Here it is.
Put it in front of your face, Craig.
Here it is. It's the new. It looks like I'm going to become him here, doesn't it? There he is.
Be happy.
That's Sharavana Baba, and I've written a book called Be Happy, and it's not just about Sharavana Baba. It's all about the story of us coming to meet him, me going to India, and talking to him, and also the thoughts about how do you be happy in this life, and how do you be happy, particularly in the sort of troubled times we've got. You know, so I've written all about that. I've included a lot of predictions about the world. You know, I've done a lot of the predictions. Well, I've covered all those in the book, And I've also even put some references in, not the whole thing, a lot of new things about Donald Trump's Nadi, for those who are interested in the political side of my work, and a lot of the predictions that are said in India, in the Puranas and in the Vedas and in the teachings. We were talking to Sheila the other week, weren't we, about Vivekananda. All types of stuff like that's in there. So you can get it through my website, that's psychics.co.uk, and that'll link you to it's on Amazon. But if you just type "Be Happy" with Craig Hamilton Parker, you'll be able to find it. And then you can find out all about Sharavana Baba. And we're going to go and present it to him on Sunday. Coming up, so it's going to be nice to see his reaction. He might say, "Nope, not having that," but I'm sure he'll be happy with what we've written, because just like us, he likes to have fun, you know. And I'm sure you could learn a great deal from that book, not just about our lives, and enjoy it, you know.
Lita says, "Is marriage a different entity at all? Heaven. Some people have more than one marriage. Love. Some people have bad marriage, but still for a lifetime. Do you think it's all work in reuniting?" I think if you've lost somebody and you were married, say, twice, you go to that person that your love and your energy is with and connect. And if you've had a bad marriage, sometimes we have to put it down to experience, and it's a karmic act. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think in the spirit world, like attracts like. In this world, like repels like, doesn't it? But I think in the spirit world, I think anything that is based on love goes on forever. I think love is like an energy that cannot die, and any love that's between people will also unite people in the spirit world. Hatred will pull people away, but that also might be a karma that might make you be reunited with them in this life, because I think sometimes people marry people in order to learn lessons about themselves. I mean, Jane and I had pretty awful marriages before we met each other. It's not been all an easy path by any means. So I think we come into this life to sometimes learn lessons, and I think people can love more than one person too. I mean, people have married and remarried and had two happy relationships, because I mean, love's all about sharing, isn't it? It's not about being selfish and it's got to just be for me. Love is giving. So in the spirit world, I think that love, that energy of love, will always survive.
Yes,
I think nothing is lost with it.
And I believe God gave us a second chance, Craig. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, we had a pretty miserable time, but we won't go into that.
No.
You know, that's not fair. But you know, I think love ultimately finds a way. And I think anybody that feels, you know, I write about this in the new book a lot too, because I talk about, you know, what happiness in relationships and what that's all about. And I think people should never give up hope of finding happiness, because happiness is something that will come to you. You've just got to have the faith and patience, because it's like a very, very powerful force. It's the force of the spirit ultimately, and it's greater than the power of matter or any circumstances around us.
Nana says, "Are soulmates always meant to be lovey-dovey towards each other? I always thought they were meant to teach us good or bad lessons in life. If it's really bad, then surely you would hate them." I think hate's a very strong word, isn't it?
I don't think sentimentality is necessarily love, is it? You know, sentimentality. Often, I'm not. Jane will always slap me around saying that
don't slap you around.
you're
How
not a romantic person. Stop being a bit more romantic, you know. But actually, often I think of the people that often bring the flowers and are all romantic, I always think they're often the deceivers. They're often the people that want to flatter you and want to trick you, you know. So I think love between
I don't mind being flattered, Craig, if you
No.
want to bring me roses.
No, I'm terrible with it, really. But I think, but sometimes laughter can be a form of love. I think loyalty is a form of love too, because I mean, I don't think there can be love if people aren't loyal to one another. And I think you've got to be loyal through you get hard times, you get better times, you know. And I think it's got to be for better or worse. It's got to be through thick and thin. And I think there's something in that. So it's not going to be all love and light and all easy and all everything happily ever after. I think the real work begins, you know, when you marry someone.
Go to bed and kiss one another goodnight and wake up in the morning kiss one another good night.
Yes.
Or good morning, rather.
The last thing you see at night and the first thing you see in the morning nowadays is Facebook.
Oh, shame, isn't it?
But I think this it's simple, really, isn't it?
That's nice,
really?
isn't it? Precious says, could it be that we are all from the same soul group? Well, there's many people, many souls, isn't there? You do find your soulmate eventually.
Oh, I think when you look at the nature, what we are, when we look to who we are, we look to the very essence of what we are, who we are. We're all actually, it's a cliche it sounds nowadays, but it's true. We're all one.
Yes.
All of us are the one radiation of the one universal consciousness, right? So, so all of us are soulmates. Everybody's soulmates ultimately, but of course our knowledge of things is not big enough that we can embrace that. You know, we can tell ourselves that, but realization of that is something else. But I think there is also groups of people too. I think there are groups of people that are going to come into your life, and your personal human experience of this world has connected to it connections with other people that were meant to be with you, good and bad, because it's not just here just for us all to be it's all lovely, you know. Life's a terrible thing sometimes too. Life can be a frightening experience too, and so consequently we have many connections until we can see beyond it all. And I think ultimately I suppose it sounds a bit hippie, but it's like to love all ultimately, you know. And I think that's why love should be shared.
Craig. Yeah, love or serve all. Serve me, Craig. Serve me.
But it is, though, that's a very powerful thing actually when you think deeply about what that means, you know. That one should do that.
Who says this? Nico Cardo. You told me to be with
I'd be with all
until the very end. But tis my, I hope you're correct. Of course you will be, darling. Of course you will. Lovely boys they are, aren't they meant to be?
You see, it's not always, you know, the two of you have got a gay relationship, and I know that that's just as powerful. Just as powerful, because it's about the spirit, isn't it? It's
love
about
comes
the spirit,
in very
ultimately.
many forms, Craig.
Does indeed, and I think
even food, Nicola.
yeah. How about when people say, "I don't want to meet anyone," and then they show up? Well, I often think that does happen, don't you think? That sometimes you meet the right person when you least expect it.
Yeah.
I mean, when I met you, I wasn't expecting to meet anybody really. Not.
Well, you were going out with a younger girl.
I was going out with a younger girl. It was
That's
also
not true. You were going out with a young girl. Yeah. You saw me and you soon wanted to ditch her.
So you kiss many. Well, no, I won't say that because that's not fair.
Kiss many frogs to find your prince.
No, you meet lots of people, don't you? And you do eventually meet the right person. But it comes the actual connection with someone that I think is going to be with you for life, and I expect others out there must feel the same. You don't expect it, you know. People that go out hunting for someone, you know, and think I like that bloke, I'm going to have him, or she's great, I'm going to have her. You know, it don't work because it needs to kind of happen. I think, and I think that what this message was about, it's got to happen spontaneously.
Naturally.
Really, it's got to be something that comes from the heart and something where you just know it's right. You know, if you try to make it right, it usually evades you. And then they show up, and they do show up, you know, usually. That's what happens.
Oh, Lisa. Hello, Lisa. I know Lisa. Well, at nearly 68 years old, I've never really had true love. And I've now been on my own 20 years, and I've had to accept, no, not necessary, Lisa, you don't. The right person comes along at the right time, because you've had experiences, I know, being with the wrong man, and I know all about that. But, you know, 20 years is better to wait for the right man to come along than the wrong man, isn't it, Craig?
Yeah, you could have had 20 years of suffering with the wrong person there, Lisa, couldn't you? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's better to get it right. And even if it doesn't happen perhaps in this lifetime, I'm not saying it's not going to happen in this lifetime, but if it doesn't happen in this life, it doesn't matter, because remember, this lifetime itself is only a small part of the great eternity that we are going to exist.
And she's a lovely person, you know? Craig, Lisa. She's such a kind girl.
Yeah.
She used to be a nurse. You've met her in hospital.
I think I've met a lot of these people because I'm on the Facebook
well,
friends.
I know, Lisa.
People have been coming up.
Yeah. Attitude Factory. What is that? Attitude
Good
Factory.
idea. A
Most
factory
Factory for love. Most people love one another by looking at their wealth, body, and reputation. Spirituality is a minor factor today when choosing soulmates. What's your advice to people who really take love as a game? Oh, I think if you're chasing money, you're not going to get anywhere. And if you're chasing somebody good looking, you could have the most good looking guy, beautiful looking woman, and they can be ugly inside.
Yeah, yeah. I think if you chase wealth, you're never going to find happiness, you know.
No,
And it's always the same, isn't it?
you.
People that chase wealth, often death chases them. Because the more you chase wealth and the more you grab hold of this world, the more you have a fear of death, I've noticed in people. And I think the more you chase those exterior things, I mean, Jane was very fortunate and I was beautiful and
you weren't rich,
wonderful.
though. You weren't
well,
rich.
I wasn't doing too bad, but I wasn't rich in the end because I gave up the advertising.
You're not in the same league as
agency.
Donald Trump.
No, but Jane's your view of wealth is
No,
big gates on the grounds.
You know,
and
when
all
you
that.
think of very wealthy people like Jackie Onassis, and she married that Greek fella, she wasn't really happy.
Yeah, cry all the way to the bank, said
You can have all
Liberace,
the money
didn't
in the world, but you can't buy your health. They think they can buy the health, but they can't.
Yeah, I really do seriously think that chasing wealth is an illusion, and often you find that I think if you chase the right things first, you know, if you chase, well, don't even chase it. If you look for the right things, you look for sort of things where you can. I'd rather have people in my life that are good friends. I'd rather have good health. I'd rather have an eye for seeing the beauty of the world.
That's right.
I mean, I'd rather have the knowledge that there's things such as techniques that will take me to higher consciousness through yoga and things. Those are all fantastic gifts and many, many more. And what a shallow thing wealth is. People think if you win the lottery, everything's going to be fine in life. And next thing
destroy people.
And it ruins it. No, and the thing is, I think if you do find the right things, the money comes. You might not end up with fortunes, but you'll end up with enough to support a happy life. I'd rather have happiness based upon high spiritual things. I think if you really find someone that you connect with, it's usually top of the list is spiritually connected, and then you might be psychologically connected, and then bottom of the list you might be sexually connected. You know, the important thing is where you are with your soul, and once your soul's sorted out, all the rest falls into place, and it's not a problem in all the other areas of your life. And wealth will come. Wealth is at the feet of the divinity. It is not at the head of the divinity. Clifford has got one. Who are you going to say that?
Well, you can talk.
Hi there. I have just lost my partner of 30 years. Oh dear. And we did not marry, but we got on together. But now I feel my life has stopped. I don't know what is next.
Well, I would answer that. You've had 30 good years together, 30 good years of love, and I know love never dies. And I feel what you've got to do is take every day as a blessing. You know, you've got good memories and you've had the most precious thing of a soul mate that's loved you. Some people never have that in a lifetime, do they, Craig?
Yeah, and I also think that, you know, this is, I mean, every love story also ends in the same, because one or other will lose their partner, you know. And then you're going to be left alone, and you're going to be left with almost with the thought sometimes, I wish all those beautiful things didn't happen because I feel so awful now. But I think if you look at the bigger picture, you know, and this is where I think mediumship and things come in, and spiritual comes in, because we look to our life and we think, well, we're going to meet again. We're all going to meet again, and we're all going to suffer loss of people we love very much. And one day, either it'll just be me on this screen, or it'll be just Jane on this screen, because I expect we'll carry on with our spiritual work, and one of us will go on. But we'll always need to think about the thought that we will all meet again in time. This is what the beauty of mediumship's all about. So, and this time on earth is a twinkling of an eye. It's a short time, it's 30 years and so, and all the rest of it. They're short periods of time when you look at it compared to the great the millennia of existence. And I think the hope is that, you know, we should treasure and always look to the happy thoughts and the happy feelings of having had people around us. Feel blessed that we've had that experience, and know that it will never go away, because love never dies. Love is forever. Families are forever. And I think you probably agree with that, Jane, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Nicola said, in my experience, having more money means more problem. Absolutely. I see money as sharing, paying the bills, and that's all you need really. A roof over your head, food in your stomach, your bills paid, and a little bit extra if you're lucky to have holidays.
Yeah, I don't think money's a bad thing, though. You know, I mean,
No.
we shouldn't demonise money. I mean, in the right hands, money's a fantastic thing.
You
I
can
mean, it can
help
do
so many
tremendous
souls.
good. And there's nothing wrong with that person, I think, having a good material existence either. I mean, that's right. It's good to be comfortable. It's good to have some of the things you like. But when it's where we place it, isn't it? It's where we place it in our in our values. It's fine. But like I said, the money, Lakshmi, is at the feet of Vishnu, I think it is. You know, it's the Lakshmi is always at the base, is always the lower part. It follows the god, as it were.
Vishnu.
So it's like we should see it that way. Money will always follow you if you follow the spiritual first. So spirit first, then all the rest comes into place, and even health, I think, comes into place if we follow spirit first.
Nana says, my nan always said that when you get your health, then you're the true millionaire. But a very wise woman, Nana, very wise woman, because health is important. I mean, we're all going to get old and we're all going to aches and pains, but you see some people are suffering in that, don't you?
Yeah,
dreadfully in that.
And same with money too. I mean, my nan used to say, "There's no pockets in a shroud." And I think that's a pretty good one to remember. You know, you can't take any of the material with you, can you? All you take with you into the next world is who you are, you know, and that's all we have. That is all we have, who we are.
Now, Marie says, my daughter's father is on the other side as of 2 years ago. I'm so sorry, Marie. I sure do hope to see him again when we're at one time truly in love. I think about Kevin. Yeah, you would if you really love somebody. And I mean, it's awful when you really love somebody and you lose them. You're heartbroken, but you will. The good news is he'll wait for you. And
of course, the whole thing with mediumship, like we're going to be doing the show coming up soon on the Concord, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah.
And we get a great deal of pleasure. You know, you get tremendous joy being able to prove to people life after death, you know. I mean, and when we know life after death, it changes everything. It brings tears of joy, you know, to know that those that we love survive. In fact, we're doing the Concord Clubs coming up soon. So Domenico's got a clip for us that we can show you of the upcoming show that we'll be doing soon.
She's talking about somewhere that gives me a name that sounds like Herbrook.
She's from Pembrokeshire.
Pembrokeshire, okay.
And her name was Jean.
She's talking about a Peter. Is something to do with fish and chips? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If I was still here, I'd clip him round the ear. Would you understand that? All right. Okay. I feel he's bringing you flowers from the spirit world, because I feel that very much you sense him at times, because I'm getting out of breath as he's coming through. Would you understand that? Very breathless.
So there's a link on our website on the events tab to go there at psychics.co.uk or the concordclub.com. Club.com. And you can come and see us and witness the mediumship on the 16th of November. So come and support us, and all the money that we make from it goes, and all the money and all the work that Domenico does, because he does all the filming and does all the background and all that, all of us put all our money, we don't take a penny for ourselves, it all goes into the foundation. So if you come there, you also support our mission. You know, we do it for free, basically, with our spiritual work for the public. Okay, give us Vera's one.
Oh,
okay?
because
I've
you've
been
seen
talking
it.
too long.
You've
I haven't
seen
read it.
You did.
Just make sure you pronounce her surname correctly, Joan.
Vera doesn't need me to pronounce her surname. She's Vera. In marriage, you should talk and listen to each other. That's important, really. Absolutely. Or, like men, they have selective hearing, don't they?
The women do the talking, the men do the listening. That's the way for a happy marriage. And that is the way for a happy marriage. Let the women do the talking. You just nod, say yes at the appropriate time,
God.
and you'll be perfectly all right.
Good grief. Good job, I know you. Will it be available on YouTube afterwards? Hopefully.
Hopefully. We haven't even completed the one for the first one, just the clips at the moment, because it's a big job, you see. We've got 5 cameras, 5 lots of sound, and we're all working. But we will try to get the previous one and the new one. We're going to film it on the day too. But it's a lot of work, you know. Marie, looking lovely in leopard suits
Yes.
you.
I like.
I was going to bring my elephant gun. Hunting tigers. Looking lovely in leopard suits. Oh, that's how we got that one. Nick's saying again, will the Concord Club show be available for patrons afterwards who can't make it? Yes, we could probably put, I can't promise, but we should be able to put a bit more in behind the scenes, a few of the rushes and things like the unedited bits even could go up there. We'll try to do that, Nick, because it's great for the patrons to try to give you a little bit extra if we can. So if you don't know what a patron is, patrons support this channel. You'll find it in the description below on the YouTube. And if you become a patron, it's fantastic because it helps us to do all this. All this is supported by patrons. We're doing the show in order to support all this. Our plan is ultimately to get a spiritual centre together and to try keep taking this show up a notch every now and again. You know, we get a new camera every now and again, a new bit of sound gear, a new bit of this and that to make it more professional for you and to get more help in the background, perhaps be able to get some other editors on board and things so we can do more and more and more. But that's your support helps us to do all this. So become a patron, please.
Explain how we're having new sets made. People doing new sets.
Go on then, tell us what you've got in
We've
mind.
got new sets being made, panelling, and they're working on it. It's 3 weeks now they've been working on it.
All for free.
All for free.
All given their
all
help
their
for
time
nothing.
for nothing,
Yeah.
and it's fabulous.
Yeah, so we've got lots we're trying to do. And it's kind of a bit small scale at the moment, but the more you help us, the bigger scale we can make it. Do you want to spread spirituality? Do you believe in what Jane and I are talking about here? Do you think we're doing a good thing? Yes, great. Follow us, you know, click the subscribe button and so forth. That all helps. Put some comments, that all helps. But if you can, become a patron, because that helps us to do more and more, because we'd really like to do something in this latter part of our lives as we move forward, you know, go out with a bang.
Dear. Apple says, should we see each of our lifetimes as a different play with the same cast of actors playing different roles? It depends. I am a great believer in karma. If you haven't learnt your lessons in a previous incarnation and you come back, possibility you might meet up with those in previous incarnations. It depends on your lessons and your actions, what you've done on the earth plane.
Yeah, I mean, Shakespeare always said that life was like a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It's like a game, it's like a stage, it's like we all play our part and so forth. And Sai Baba always said to say, life is a game,
Play it.
right? So we know it's an illusion. We know it's a game. We know that we're all like the same players being brought back in probably different sets and with each lifetime. And we know that it's not real, perhaps, it's just a game, but we play it like a game. And I think when you learn that you understand that you're just an actor on the stage, as it were, that you're just playing the game, then actually, you know, it's not playing a game to try, like playing mind games sort of thing, remember? It's sort of like just being, it's just taking part, it's just happening. It's just a play. It takes away the pain of it all. It takes away the seriousness of it all. And it means that you can play your part and feel happy. And I think we really are. I think we really are all players. And I think Shakespeare is really onto something with that.
So,
I missed you. I'll have to watch the replay.
I missed you. I'll have to watch the replay.
Yeah, and if you are watching replay, guys, don't forget to still put your comments, because it's very useful to put your comments, because people interact with it and like to see what you're saying. Love this question. Who was Princess Diana's true soulmate? Good one.
I think she liked Dr. Khan, didn't she?
Yeah, I think she was very, very close to Dodie in the end.
Well, I think she did care for him, but I think it was Dr. Khan that she wanted, because he was a heart surgeon, Craig, and she liked the way he helped people.
Yeah.
And that, because she'll always be the queen of people's
I think it
hearts.
gets harder for people when you're in the public eye like that,
Yeah.
actually, because like she would have been under total scrutiny.
Yes.
I mean, how can spontaneous love happen under that sort of press scrutiny for anybody in a position like that?
She did love Prince Charles.
Yeah, I think she loved Prince Charles. Unfortunately, he was stuck. You know, he had already he'd fallen in love with Camilla beforehand, who'd also gone to marry someone else. So it made it very complicated. And don't forget to subscribe, guys, to the channel as well. You know, there's a little bell, like I said, in the corner of the screen. That's that side down there. Hit that subscribe bell button, and you'll get to see us each time. We go live every Saturday at the moment at 7 o'clock UK time. But you know, if you click the bell, you'll get updates, and also you'll get other stuff. If you want little extras, I put them on the patron page. And patrons, it's peanuts. You can just put a tiny little subscription, because many drops make an ocean, and you won't miss it. It's less than the cost of a newspaper, but it brings us a lot of support and helps us to do this. We're putting our work in. We're putting our theatre work in. You know, a lot of mediums go out there and make a fortune as mediums, millionairesses, some of them have become. But we're putting it all into this. It's all going to go for this charitable trust. So you can do your little bit, please.
Follow me on Instagram. I will get back to you, and I will answer sensible questions.
You like interacting with people on Instagram, don't you? And we've got a Facebook page, of course, and the YouTube. So if you're watching us on Facebook and vice versa, you know, go and subscribe to each. And have a look at our website, because the books are there. Don't forget, I did mention it before, but I'm going to mention it in my book again, because it took me a lot of work, this book.
2 years.
2 years work, full on. And there's a lot in it, actually, that I think you will enjoy. There's a lot of new thoughts in there. And like I say, a lot of the stuff, the contentious. I wrote all about the pandemic, what the Nadis said about the pandemic, what Sharavana here said about the pandemic, and about some of his predictions for the future, some of the predictions from India. And it tells the first part is the first book is been entwined in it as well, in which we go to get some help about Damien's diabetes and what the Nadis said about it. So I think you'll love it. I don't know yet, because not many people have read it yet. So I'd be loved. And put a comment on Amazon if you like it, please.
Right. Nikki says, do you plan on Concord event next November? Well, it depends if they have availability, doesn't it, Craig? Because they keep asking us to go back again.
We'll actually do more. We'd like to get out and start doing more theatres.
Yeah,
but we raise
do.
it for the foundation, you see. It's a lot of effort that goes into those.
And it's quite expensive.
But it just happens to be
hire,
very local to us and makes it easy for us.
Yeah, it's quite expensive to hire these theatres, because you're talking about £8,000.
Because we did one before to raise money for this in Bournemouth
Pavilion on the Park,
which is a big theatre, didn't we? And we also did one in Fareham.
Pockets.
And again, we put our own money in order to put the money in to try to make enough money to keep the whole venture, this whole idea,
Tess says,
take it to a next
thank you,
level.
have a good evening. Thank you, Tess. We've enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Craig and Jane Hamilton Parker, Psychic Mediums. Listening from Massachusetts, UNA. Thank you very much, Craig and Jane. I think she's pleased, actually.
Yes, and I'm pleased she's pleased. Oh, thank you. I love your dress. You two adorable lovebirds. Great shows always. Thank you for your time. And Domenico.
Yeah, Domenico, he's working in the background all the time, you know, just like we're putting effort in.
And if you came to the Concord Club on November the 16th this year, you will meet Domenico.
Yes,
and he might sign.
Here he is. Look, there he is. Yes! That's Domenico. Yeah, so thank you for Domenico for all the work you put in the background, making sure that this functions. You know, we work hard, and then this is your free. You get a bit of free time, and we do this. You know. So thank you for
Sai-
tonight. We'll buy the book, Ram.
Sai
Good.
Ram.
It's good. You'll enjoy it because there's some very interesting stuff in there about Sai Baba as well, and about some of the Sai Baba dreams I've had, which are for the future. And I think you might find those interesting if you're a Sai
saw
Baba
it should be
follower.
made in a movie, Craig.
So, thank you. Yeah, yeah, should be made into a movie. Yeah. There is my movie out there, of course, Mystic Journey to India. You can go and get that on Amazon Prime if you're bored tonight and there's nothing good on television as good as this, what you're watching now. And Mystic Journey to India is really a fabulous story, actually. Thank you ever so much for tonight, says Precious. Thank you for joining us.
It's a lovely name, isn't it? Apple says, have a nice weekend, Jane and Craig. Thank you for a lovely evening. Really enjoyed it. I will get the book. Nice looking cakes. Aren't they delicious looking?
Yeah,
Craig?
we didn't eat any, did we, either?
No, well, we
get
haven't
those
had
next.
chance. You
Get
keep
some of those
talking.
next week. I like those other ones you get, those big
Oh,
ones.
yeah, we must get some more in.
Namaste, says Nana. Sheila will know what I'm talking about when I say about the cake. Sharon, love your work. Keep going.
Thank you. Bless you.
I loved your show tonight, says Jamie. And one of our patrons, thank you very much for all your help there too. And Agility Bits, another one of our patrons. And we always try to
Have a lovely weekend.
hook out the patrons' questions where we can. Thank you for joining us again, folks.
Who's Hallie House 13? Oh, he's a looker. You talking about Domenico or Craig?
Domenico they're talking about.
I know.
Of course they are.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Craig. Have a lovely weekend. Yeah, it's not bad, is he? He scrubs up well.
Yeah.
Sheila, thank you, Jane and Craig.
Danielle was
Loved
pleased.
healing.
Thank
Loved
you,
hearing
Sheila.
the story.
Nice.
Back in India and reading the fabulous book.
Oh, great.
Oh, lovely,
Fantastic.
Sheila.
That's good because Sheila was on the other week. And also, anybody out there that wants to become a guest that's really got an interesting story to share, if you can get to Winchester and you can contact me through the website, we'd always like to have guests. Once a month, we want to try to get a guest.
And any celebrities out there, we may consider you coming
yes,
on.
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Come on the show. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your soulmate story. Thanks to Domenico too.
Yeah.
That's Marilyn Planet. Thank you, and thank you, Gillian. And we'll see you, Domenico. You will see Domenico.
Yeah, and we'll bring the new cat on one day. We've got another cat. What's his name?
Grugo. Grugo.
Domenico and Danielle's new cat. I mean,
Sphinx.
fantastic.
Happy Halloween to you, Marilyn.
And thank you for your hard
Yes,
work.
and thank you for watching us. Lauren, can't wait to read your book. Fabulous new book. So fun tonight.
Oh, good. I'm glad
That's
you're
nice.
good. And don't forget to write a comment on Amazon too,
Now,
because it's important
attitude.
we get some comments
Thank you,
on
Craig
there.
and Jane. You two are good examples for us. Really influences. God bless you too. God bless you too. Attitude.
Even though you've got a funny attitude.
No, Sheila.
Ha ha, cakes. Yes, Sheila likes our cakes. You'd
Yeah.
love these ones, Sheila. They're lovely.
Thank you for everything, Craig and
Your
Jane.
teeth.
There's a spoon there. You can pick them up. How posh are we, Craig? Look, how posh are we? Right.
Another wonderful
Ireland.
Saturday live chat with Craig and Jane Domenico. Thank you. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us again. Thanks,
Mark.
Craig and Jane.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
We do a lot of the thank yous, but the thank yous are part of it, isn't it, really?
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
good to. I mean, when we were in that COVID-19, it was so nice to connect to all the world.
Yeah, I
wasn't
mean,
it?
Zoom and all the rest of it, and
'Cause
this type
people
of thing
couldn't
is
go
really
out,
good.
so we can all be as one.
But I think they're ready to get rid of us now. I think we'll have to say goodbye.
Oh, do we have
Yeah,
to?
we have to.
Oh,
So we're going to
no.
say goodbye to you, folks. Thank you for joining
Bye.
us. See you
Love
soon.
you
See you
all.
next time. Bye for now.
Ciao.
She's talking about somewhere that gives me a name that sounds like Herbrook.
She's from Pembrokeshire. And
Pembrokeshire. Okay, that's
And her name was Jean.
She's talking about a Peter. Has something to do with fish and chips? Does that make sense?
If I was still here, I'd clip him round the ear. Would you understand that? All right. Okay. I feel he's bringing you flowers from the spirit world because I feel that very much you sense him at times because I'm getting out of breath as he's coming through. Would you understand that? Very breathless.
Would you like to know more about the paranormal world? Craig Hamilton Parker's books are now available on Amazon. Explore the future. Discover what happens after death. Unlock the secrets of your dreams. Learn to develop your own psychic skills.